morass. It's a morass. It's horrible. They use it as a weapon. They use it all over the country.
Right, but there are legitimate concerns about environmental impact, correct?
There
Like,
are,
look about the BP oil spill. There's a lot of things that do happen that are environmentally devastating.
Sure, yeah.
And you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
You do. Look, I had, during our 4 years, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water. I view it differently. I say air and water. Remember this. It costs much more to do things environmentally clean. China doesn't do anything.
Right.
When Kerry goes to see President Xi at China, which he probably doesn't even get to see him, but they look at him, oh, yes, yes, we will do. Oh, yes, yes, we're going to do that. No more coal, no more coal. And then they approve 58 coal plants for the next, they build a coal plant a week. Okay.
They build a lot of coal plants.
But let me just tell you, though, so here we are cleaning and scrubbing everything, and everything's got to, and the air's got to be pure. But in 3.8 days, that stuff floating over China is right over the top of us.
Right.
Same thing with the oceans. They dump their garbage into the Pacific Ocean. If you take a little cork and put it there, in about a week and a half, it'll be in front of Los Angeles. We're picking up their garbage. So nobody ever talks about that. But in a way, the bigger one is even the air. It's the currents. It's an amazing thing. It's been flowing that way for 1 million years, or long before
we share
before
air
we
with the
were
whole
there.
world. Yeah.
No. If we're
we get
cleaning,
the Sahara dust clouds over here.
Absolutely.
We get dust clouds in Austin from the Sahara Desert.
But we get the China, they call it the China curse. We get the China curse. They're bad, and their air is dirty. When I went there, I had a great relationship with President Xi. We got along very well. And they treated me better than anybody has ever been treated. Same thing with Saudi Arabia, a number of them. But they laid it out. And I said, this air is good. Do you know they closed every factory 1 week before I got there from within 200 miles?
That's like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
He cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up. He got rid of all the homeless
Isn't that terrible
people.
in a way? To think, he cleaned it up and then it became a pigsty.
Well, the dumbest thing is he said when your friends come by, when you have visitors, you clean up your house. Like, how about just keep your fucking house clean?
Can you imagine?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say ever as a governor, as to excuse to why you finally cleaned up your homeless problem.
And the day he left,
right back to it.
It went right back.
Yeah.
But in a way, that was a bad thing that he did, because he showed
it could be done.
What a disgrace that was. What a disgrace.
Well, this is the thing that shows you how foolish a lot of these people that are running these cities think. A lot of these people that are running these states think. It's foolish. Like you're insulting the intelligence of the people that live in that city that are impacted by these people just camping and needles and human feces. There's an app that you can buy. There's an app that you can get, that will show you where the human feces has been documented in San Francisco. It's a poo app. And it's just everywhere. It's just bum crap everywhere.
But let me give you one that you may not know.
Okay.
Which I think you know everything, actually. As a student of yours, but water, in Los Angeles you can't get proper amounts of water,
right?
And it's unbelievably expensive. And you might have a house in Beverly Hills, and they're actually thinking about rationing water. Could you believe it?
I can believe it.
I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen. We're driving up a highway, and I say, how come all this land is so barren? It's farmland, and it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner that's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north of water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. You got to see this. We're driving up, and I had never seen it before. It's like Iowa. It's the most fertile land. Iowa's blessed with great land. Idaho for a potato, right?
Yeah.
But they're just, by the way, some land is good for a potato, some land is good for corn. It's the craziest thing. I love the farmers. They're great. They're the greatest. And by the way, they're getting killed right now.
They are.
They're getting killed because of this stupid administration. But so I see this, and I said, you got to be kidding. I said, you mean you have water? And I looked at it. It's like a valve in your sink, except it's massive. The thing's 5 times taller than your ceiling.
Did you know the center of California was a giant lake?
They have so much water.
You ever see what it looked like before
No,
they rerouted
I never
it?
saw that,
The
no.
center of California, like, what is it, 200 years ago? How long ago did they do that, Jamie? The center of California had a fucking enormous lake in the middle of
So
California.
they dumped it into the Pacific.
Who knows what they did? But whatever foolishness that they did led to the situation that they're in now.
Think of those dry forests that burned down all over the world. You know, the head of Austria said,
Here it is, Tulare Lake or Tachi Lake. It's a freshwater lake in the southern San Joaquin Valley, United States. Historically, Tulare Lake was one of the largest freshwater lakes west of the Mississippi. Show a photo of what it looked like back then.
it's a great system.
So that's what it looked like. Look at that image. Now, go to the one on the third from the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Oh,
was an
wow.
enormous
What a
lake
beautiful
in the
thing.
middle of California. Imagine that.
That'd be much more valuable
How
property.
crazy is that?
Oh,
But how
wow.
crazy is
So
that's
what
what it
did
used
they
to look
do?
like? And human beings screwed that
No,
up.
they let it go into the Pacific, and then they.
I don't know
did
what they
something.
did. What did they do? How did it go
Wow.
missing?
They said they drained it in 83.
Yeah, they drained it.
1983. Oh my God.
It went dry a handful of times.
Oh, it went dry a handful of times. Well, lakes do go dry, but that's a big one.
But think of
It's a
it.
big one to go
you
dry.
could have all of the water you need. All of that land would have more water. The whole thing could be like that little patch.
Yeah.
Literally, I'd say I was with Devin Nunes, a congressman, and other congressmen. We were going up. I was visiting that because they asked me to go up and visit their territory, and I did. But I kept saying, look at this land. It's beautiful, but it's so dry. And I thought they were going through like a desert, like a drought. They said, no, we have water, but it gets rid. So I looked into it.
What is the fish?
And I got it done. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. When a tree falls down, after 18 months, it becomes very dry. It's like, like real firewood. It's bad. A tree that's up, these are all things I learned the hard way, the easy way. But when a tree is up, it sucks water. It's wet. I went to they had a couple of horrible forest fires in California, and I said, you got a lot of trees standing. Yes, they were healthy trees, sir. I said, with this intense heat, that you could see they were charred a little bit on the bottom, but they were going to be all right because they're soaking wet because they suck up the water.